Hi folks, this video will just be a quick introduction or probably refresher to how GitHub works and how to get a GitHub repo set up for use in data visualization class. So GitHub is a place that you can store your code in the cloud and access it from anywhere. And we're going to use an application today called GitHub Desktop that allows us to connect a folder on our local computer to a GitHub repo in the cloud and sort of have them sync up together. So to get this to work, first thing you'll need to do is go to github.com and sign up for an account. I'll just go ahead and sign in to my account here. You can see this is what GitHub looks like once you're signed in. And I've got lots of repos here already set up, so yours might look a little cleaner than this. The next thing you want to do is go ahead and download the GitHub Desktop application, which you can find at desktop.github.com. And once you install that, the application icon looks like this, like a little purple cat. And this is what it'll look like when you open it up. And you'll need to sign in first using the same credentials from your GitHub account. So let's talk a little bit about how GitHub works. We're going to set up at github.com a repo, which is just the GitHub term for a folder. We're going to set up a repo for a class where you could keep all of your all of your code and files for this class. And this is sort of the master repo where all of your files should always be up to date. At the same time, we're going to have a local version of that repo on our computer, and that's where we're going to work. We'll call that the working version of the file. And the GitHub Desktop app sort of connects that online repo with the local repo. And so what we can do is, any computer that we're on, we can pull down that repo from github.com onto that local computer. We can open up the repo and work, add code, modify our code, whatever we want. And then when we're done working, we push that repo back up to the central online repo at github.com. And that way the repo at github.com is always the most updated and recent. And before we sit down to start work on our local computer, we just pull that down again, update it, do our work, push it back up again. So that's kind of the workflow. So let's go ahead and see how that works a little bit. And there's actually one more piece of this too, which is called GitHub Pages, which we'll get to at the end. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'll just create a repo so I've got GitHub Desktop open here, and I'm going to go up to File, let's say New Repository. And it's going to ask me what my repository name is, and I'm going to call mine Data Viz Class Demo, just because I'm just demonstrating how this works for you guys. And I'll go ahead and say Create Repository. Okay, and you can see it's got the repository open right here. If I click that down, it's going to show me all the repos that I sort of have on my local computer, but you guys will just, for now, we're just going to work in this one repo. Okay, so let's see where it created that on my local machine. I'm going to open up my Finder here, and if I go to Documents, it will have automatically created a GitHub folder within your Documents folder. So I'll go ahead and click on that, and you can see it created this Data Viz Class Demo folder, and it's empty, right? So that's just our blank repo locally. It doesn't have anything, and it's got a couple of these Git files, which we don't really need to worry about. So now that it's created it locally on our computer, we can go ahead and publish this repository to GitHub by clicking on this button right here. And it's going to say, okay, you want it called the same thing? Of course we do. We'll click Publish here. And went ahead and did it. So let's go to GitHub, and I'll refresh. And I'll go to my repositories, and let's see. So we'll say data. Here we go. Here it is, Data Viz Class Demo. So if I click on that, it'll open that repository, and here it is, and there's nothing in it. Okay, so that works so far. So what we did so far, if we go back and look at our little chart here, we've got our new repository that we created. We've got a local version of it here. We've got a cloud version of it up here on github.com, and we've got the GitHub Desktop app connecting the two. Perfect. right, so let's see how this works a little bit, okay? So I'm going to just start a really basic document here. So I'll just make an HTML document. And I'll just say hello. Sorry, I'm not on my normal keyboard here, which is why I keep making typos. Okay, so I'm just gonna make it say hello world. And we'll go ahead and save that. I'm gonna go and save that in that data viz class demo, and I'll just save that as like demo.html. Okay, great. So I can just close that down for now, because that's all we're gonna do. Okay, you can see it. So now inside of, I'm in my local repo here, right? Data viz class demo, and I made an HTML document called demo.html. So if I double click that and open it, just HTML doc says hello world. Great, pretty simple. So now let's go ahead and push that up to our online repo. So if we open up GitHub Desktop again, we'll see it's telling us, hey, there's been one changed file in your data viz class demo repo. So what should we do with it? Well, what we want to do is we want to make a commit to push that up to our online repository. So we have to give some kind of description of that. We always have to put a name right here. And you could just say like, it's even giving us it could say anything here. You just have to write something. It's giving us something. We might say change demo.html. That's great. Some people just always write some changes here, which is probably not the best idea, because you could see this later to sort of get an idea of what change you made when. So we'll just call it added demo.html. Great. Okay. You could add more of a description if you want, but you don't have to. All you have to do is add some text right there. So then we want to click commit to main, and then we want to click push origin up here. And now that's sending that file up to our online repo. So if we come up here back to GitHub and we refresh, we can see, okay, it has pushed that demo.html. We can click on that and even see it. So there's our HTML. Now our code is saved online, and we could go to any computer anywhere. We could download this repo using the GitHub desktop to that computer. We could update it, and then push it back up again. The idea is just to always have the most recent version of your repo here. You know, you could make things a lot easier by always working on the same computer. And so, you know, when you sit down, so right now everything's updated in all the places. A good workflow is when you sit down to code, just to open up GitHub Desktop, open up the repo here, so data viz class repo, and just always click fetch origin. And what that's going to do is pull the files down from the online repo and make sure that the ones on your local computer are the most updated version. You work here, make changes. In fact, let's make a quick change here just so we can see. All right, so hello world, and I'll add an exclamation point, and then I'll save it and I'll close it. If I go to GitHub Desktop, it's like, hey, you changed that again. So I could just say added some code, commit to main, push. And now if we go back to our repo, refresh, just updated demo.html now. Great. So that's sort of our workflow. So that's how you use GitHub to sort of save your code. Now let's go through one more step here. We can actually use GitHub to look at the published version of our code, to get a URL on the internet that we could see our code. And that's what I want you guys to submit as your final project. And what we use to do that is something called GitHub Pages. To use that, we have to set it up real quick. So once you're in your repo, you go to settings, you scroll down here in the left-hand rail to where it says pages. And we want to just source, deploy from a branch, main, root, save. Okay. Now this is going to take a minute. It says the repository is private, but the published site will be public. Okay, that's fine. And we could actually make our repo public, which is not a bad thing, not a bad idea since you want me to be able to see your code. So to do that, I go over to general and I scroll all the way to the bottom into the danger zone where it says change repository visibility. So right now it's private, but let's change it to public. And I want to make this repo public. Yes, I understand. Make it public. Great. Okay. So let's just click on pages again. So your GitHub Pages site is currently being built from the main branch. Okay, so it's going to take a minute for this to happen, but when it does, it's going to give us a URL right here that we can use to actually see our repo. So let's just wait a minute. So I'm going to pause the video here, and we'll come back when this actually has taken place, so that you guys don't have to sit here and watch it. So I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. And now you can see it took about a minute or two. I refreshed and it says, okay, your site is live at adammartin.github.io/datavizclassdemo. Okay, so let's click that open and take a look at this URL, okay? So this first part, amartin is my GitHub username. github.io, that's just, this is sort of your GitHub Pages site. So it's going to be your username.github.io, and that's how all your GitHub pages are gonna, that's the URL structure they're gonna follow. And then it's saying /dataviz class demo. Well, that sounds familiar, right? That's our repository name. So what this is taking us to right here is just the root. Now there's nothing there. There's no index.html for it to pull up, so it's just giving us a page not found. But basically this URL that it's giving us, amartin.github.io/datavizclassdemo, is bringing us to the root of this repo. And now we can open up any file that's here, or any folder or file here that we want. So for instance, if I want to open up demo.html, I can just write demo.html and it opens up that file. Okay, so this is how I'd want you to submit any coding homework. You can grab this URL right here and just paste that directly into Elms. Okay, so that's our super quick GitHub overview. Oh, I do have this GitHub cheat sheet, which was made for 352, 652, but is totally applicable for what you guys are doing. It shows step by step everything that I just showed in this video. You can access that at this bit.ly link right here, and it also is available for you in Elms. So good luck. I know GitHub is not the most user-friendly program, but it's incredibly powerful and it's free. So it's worth getting to know how to use it, and don't hesitate to ask questions anytime. Thank you.